All right, so this is plan training or a plan overview. We go through the NetDocs buzzwords here to understand what plan actually means, and then really, we can dive into it more if we need to as well. Well, that was not deal. Before we start, we're going to go over some NetDocs updates, some Optable updates, and we'll just see what's new on the blog post. And then I'll have to jump back in to this webinar as well. All right, so what's new at NetDocs? And this is how we always find out. I Google NetDocuments updates. I don't think, and I misspell it too, so just to prove that it's okay. Web refreshes are things that automatically happen. What do we have? June 19th. So tomorrow we got some bug fixes. That looks like it is. If anyone has a Japanese snippet display issue, it'll be fixed. There's some issues there, so nothing really big on the web page refront. Coming over to what's new, and we're about to send an email out to your IT companies and to your NetDocs admins on NDMail 1.161, which is available. That's for Windows, and the new version of ND Office, which actually I don't know why it's not showing up here, but there is a new version of ND Office. Now, the way that I find those, if we go and Google NetDocs downloads, all right, so ND Office is 4.2. ND Mail is 1.16. I'm talking about for Windows computers. There's also ND Click for Mac at 2.0. One of the ways we find that out here, ND Office, I'm going to come over to the gear and about. So I'm running 4.2. I am running the latest version. Now stop. Stop right now if you're just like, well, I'm going to go update right now. I'm not saying to update right now. I am definitely not saying to update right now. And in fact, I recommend that this is done as a firm and there's some planning involved. So a lot of people ask, when you set up NetDocs, it doesn't look like users can update ND Office or ND Mail. I'm like, no, they can't. It should be done by the IT company. It should be planned out. But those are very new. There's a lot of new features. We've discussed those in other webinars. So I'll be sending that email out to your IT companies and to your NetDocs admins, explaining those and telling you if I think it's a good idea to update. And I do think it's actually okay to update now. But just because there's a new version out there does not mean you need to update it. Now, what's new with Optable? We're going to come over here to our NetDocs tips. I've got an article, which I need to update, about closing matters in NetDocs. Okay, so no one closes matters in NetDocs, and the reason being is that when you close a matter in NetDocs, you can't add anything to it. And that's a problem. There is, and this needs to be updated, but with the new version of ND Office 4.1, there is a registry key that you can add that will allow you to save files to matters that are closed. So if we can start closing matters in NetDocs, we can really turn on the retention policy, meaning after 7 years, purge this matter. As I know everyone complains about NetDocs storage costs to me, but I can also tell you that no one removes anything from NetDocs. So, and there's a mechanism in NetDocs to do that. So I think this will be really, really good. So I'm updating this article about closing matters in NetDocs. We'll explain how to do it and really go into detail there on how to do that. So that's going to go over. And by the way, if you have an accounting system like Coyote, Juris, PC Law, I just name it, we can usually, tabs 3, we can usually pull the close date over in there. Now, this one is also pretty great article here. You can do a mail merge in NetDocs now. I mean, with a little extra step, but one of the big I don't say flaws, but I have people that are trying to do mail merges, and the problem is NetDocs doesn't pop when you go to do a mail merge. My friend Robert Gray has this program, One Step Save, where you can now hook in. So when you go to do the mail merge in Word, NetDocs opens up. One Step Save, if we look at the pricing here, just to let everyone know. So if you've had problems with mail merges, there's a workaround. It's not expensive. It's users get it. It's $5 a user a month. But if only, hey, we only need 4 people to get it, then it's $10 a user a month, and it hooks basically into almost everything. And Robert's the kind of person where I'm like, hey, Robert, will you build this? He'll usually add it in there. I've been bugging him about the mail merge for like 3 months, so he did build that in there. So if you go back to your firms, if anyone has had that problem with mail merge, let them know. If you have any NetDocs Mac users, we've updated pretty much all the articles on using NetDocs for a Mac. So we did a refresh on those. So those are new as well. And then let's just look at the events here. All right, so we're doing plan training right now. Next week, office hours. And I'm going to tell you right now, plan training is going to be okay, but plan is really new. So you might see some stuff, try it out, and then you might ask in office hours next week, Craig, you talked about this. Can you go into more detail? That's fine. NetDocs office hours is a place for anyone to ask me any question about NetDocs, especially you got new users, stuff like that. Sign them up for that. There's no structure there. It's a free for all to, try to stump me on NetDocs things. Mastering versioning in NetDocs. Okay, this is a webinar. I have to pick my mom up at the airport. So I'm going to do this at the airport and at DCA or Reagan for your old school Washington, D.C. people. But I already have my spot and I've tested it out. So I've got to do the webinar in the airport. This is from a client of mine was like, can you do a webinar on versioning for our firm? And I was like, how can I make that in an hour? And then I was like, looked at everything and I was like, oh, this is easily an hour. So all about versioning. July 9th, the NetDocs AI Assist. I'm going to go over how to use the AI Assist, how it works and stuff like that. And then July 30th, we got an office hours. And then we're going to do a collab space training. Some of you have probably purchased plan and maybe you got collab spaces. I'll go over how to use that. And there's some new functionality in collab spaces we got to talk about. And then September 10th, mastering home pages and cabinet home pages. September 17th, mastering NetDocs workspaces. And then we've got an office hours. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. And I will tell you that all my webinars are all based off of what you all tell me, what questions you ask. All right, sorry that took a little longer, but I think that ND Office, ND Mail is important to go over and some of that functionality. What the heck is plan? So these are individual products NetDocs has released, okay? And then they bundled them all together. I do not work for NetDocs, okay? I don't have any pull with NetDocs. I mean, I have a great relationship with them. I feel like NetDocs is kind of customer focused more than listening to Craig talk about stuff. So when you have issues, thoughts, concerns, when you go to them, it really does help. I think we got to a point where NetDocs added on all these ancillary products. And I know there were some issues with people getting them. What are these products? Do I need them? And they're like, look, we're just going to kind of give them to everyone. So there's a lot of products on here that are kind of new to me, even though they've been around for a while. And the purpose of this webinar is just to kind of go over each of these, show you kind of what they can do, talk about the setup and things like that. Now, the one thing I will say that probably is not going to be a product, even though you have it, it's something that we're probably not going to use is ND Thread, although we could use it. So ND Thread was a program NetDocs purchased. Oof, I don't know now. Kind of forgotten. I've been doing this too long. Maybe 2014-ish. And basically it was Teams before Teams. So you got basically a Microsoft Teams experience in NetDocs where you could chat. We used it as our company before we actually migrated to Teams. So we were actually using it. And the, I guess, nice thing about Thread, and maybe I have to do a little research to see there, is that if you're using something like collaboration spaces, you could do chats with your customers. I mean, that's still the case. But what we've seen, especially after COVID, is that most law firms have been moved to Teams. Most of your IT companies know how to use Teams. So really, ND Thread is being replaced by ChatLink. Now, if you're sitting on this call and you're like, well, we don't have Office 365, which is rare, but it's still true, then maybe ND Thread is for you. Also, if you are using collab spaces and want to have some real-time chat with your clients, there's ND Thread there as well. So it's still there and you're still getting it. I'm just telling you that most of the use for Thread has been replaced by ChatLink. Margin notes, which we're going to go over. I'm going to have a manual for ChatLink and I'm going to have a manual for tasks created and done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, going into deep details about setting it up. Margin notes, I won't, because it's really easy. We'll go over that today and just how to use margin notes. But these are, when you talk about plan, these are the products that we're talking about. Now, they might also include something called analytics and also the DocuSign integration. We've already created materials about that on our blog post. We can go over that a little bit as well, because I know that that sometimes is included. First thing to come up here, and I know for some of you, this is, you kind of know this, but I run into a lot of people who are like, well, do I have this? How do you find out what you have? You have to be a NetDocs repository administrator. You're going to come up to hi and then your first name. We will come over to the word admin. And then we're going to come over to information and settings here. I had to click on the 3 lines, information and settings. I clicked on users and groups. And under information, I'll tell you right now, everyone has organized. All right. I mean, almost everyone has organized. This is the basic package you get when you get NetDocs. You might have Protect. You might have purchased Protect. If you've purchased Protect, we just did the DLP webinar. What was that, a month ago? But when you get the email tomorrow with this webinar, the DLP webinar will be in there. And I will also, there's a DLP manual. If you need it, just send me an email. And I think, did I do oh yeah. I've also created a blog post on implementing DLP and I go over how to implement it right here. So, like everything else, it's there. So I know a lot of you that are getting Plan might have gotten that. There's some good resources there. Workspace Security Manager, we got a webinar about that in a couple of months. I've already done it. I've got the manual. But what we're talking about today is ChatLink, margin notes, tasks, and Thread are part of Plan. And then you can go over here. Some of you have gotten maybe Collab Spaces or Set Builder. So you're seeing that. And then maybe Analytics, okay, as well as, ND Mirror. So there's a lot of things here. These are all the NetDocs ancillary products, all shown in information. It just makes my life hard to go over all this different stuff. But let's start with margin notes. So I'm going to open up this matter right here. All right, I'm going to come over to letter to Craig Bayer. And I now want to view the margin notes. Now there's a couple of ways of doing that. Well, let's get our little pen out here. All right, so I can see the margin notes here, and we're going to explain what those are if I click here. And then there's two types of margin notes, notes that have not been completed and notes that have been completed. If I click show completed, it will show the margin notes there as well. Now, we have our little preview button, which previews the document, but we are not seeing our margin notes here. So this is one of those things where I'm like, how do I get to margin notes? So we've got this Word document checked off. We're going to come over to more. All right. And once we are in more, if we go to view in browser, it's not going to show us the notes. This would be the wrong place to look. This is the place that I always went to try to find them. I was like, do I have not turned this on or anything like that? It's not there, so we don't have to wait. More, all information. It is the very first place. It's the first option. All right. And this is where we're looking at the document. Now here, I'm going to come down to margin notes. And then I am going to click on show completed. So that's this note right here. If we click on it, Wayne wrote, why is this here? Craig responded, we need to have that clause in NetDocs. Okay. Now we have here, please remove this. Okay. And so what I could do is, well, first off, remove it. Now I'm in a preview right now, so I'm going to actually have to open up the letter to Craig Bayer to remove it. So let's open it up. I'll do a save as. So we'll save it as a new version. So now it's version 5. Let's come back to NetDocs. More, all information. All right. Uh-oh, there's no notes. Let's come over here to version 4. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Let's come over to version 4, and then we're seeing the notes there. So we have the ability to toggle between the versions. And then what I'm going to do is say, this was removed. All right. And then I'm going to send it out, and then I will mark it as complete. So the notes are done. Now let's come over to version 5, the official version. And then to add a note, we are just going to click somewhere. And then we're going to put in something like, all right. Now I do have there. So this is on orange now, different colors. And so that's just a note. I mean, usually on the note itself, you point to the actual area that you want to change, or I'm just giving it a note. Margin notes. And I could just actually would come over here and I would even complete it myself. There's not really anything to do here. It is a place on any document in NetDocs to actually come in here and put in a note and to actually have comments, correspondence back and forth about these different items here. So any questions about margin notes? or using them. I mean, it's pretty basic, like I said, and there isn't really a ton of setup there. Let's go the recap. There are two ways to get to the margin notes. One, if we are in list view, we check the box next to the document and we can just see the notes here, and these are showing you the notes for the latest version. I like to come over to more, all information, and then here are my notes for the official version. And we hit show completed, but we could switch it to the different versions here where you could see every time that you added notes. You could see that. All right. That is margin notes. Now, like I said, I wasn't really going to spend a lot of time in threads. I'm just going to come over here, but I will show it. So again, I feel like threads have been replaced by Teams. Okay. So the where I would say maybe you're going to use this is one, if you don't use Teams, although I kind of feel like that's something that everyone's going to, or you're using collab spaces. So in this matter, I have, a billion collab spaces. Well, threads here will basically create this for everyone. So, but again, this is at the end of the day, this is really Teams. The one thing I do use threads for, and this is just like a super weird thing, is if I come over to preferences, well, it's not here. Where is it going to be? Oh, there's an actual threads page to go to, but everyone's like, how did you get your picture in NetDocs? Like, how did I get this? Is that if you have threads, there is a place to upload your picture. But again, it's Teams, but it kind of existed before Teams existed, so you can invite users to the workspace. I mean, you can go in and type in someone's name and invite them, but not really used as much because we're all really using Teams now. So let's go over to Teams and the product known as Chat Link. All right. So I'm going to open up Teams, and honestly, I'm just showing you how we actually work at Optiable. So when we have a client, we create a team. That team kind of mimics a matter in NetDocs. So this is our massive dynamic general docket. So we create this 101.013. If we go into NetDocs now, we have the exact same matter. Now I'm going to tell you at our office, because I was like, look, every time we have a new matter, I kind of want Teams channel. We have not figured out a way to do that. We've looked at Power Automate. We've looked at doing all sorts of different things. And so we are manually creating a new team when we have a new matter. When we do that, there's a couple of things that get added. And the first one over here is the NetDocs tab. So let's come over here and highlight it right here. So on this team, and we'll actually do this just so that you can see it, we're going to have a NetDocs tab. And if you notice here, this is going to end up mirroring what is in my actual NetDocs. So here is our workspace in NetDocs. And if we come over to the Teams channel here, and I don't know why this is taking so long. Okay, there it is. This is the actual NetDocs workspace, but you're seeing it in Teams here. So we're starting with folders. Now we can sort by pretty much anything here. So we've got our filter, save search, folder, and we could drill into, all documents and emails. So in Teams, we're using NetDocs now. And then if we come over here, well, what do I want to do with this? Well, there's a preview button. And honestly, if we go back into what we were talking about, we can actually even see if we're using margin notes here. And with the different versions, you have that capability as well. So we have that capability. We have a share button here. So where do I want to share this document? In the Teams channel. And then this will pop it into the Teams channel right here. And then I could do something like, oh, then I get there. Then I get the at me here. Let's come into pleadings here. Open in Word, open in Word Online, or open in NetDocs are our three options. Open in Word will open this locally on Word on my computer. So, and then we could come over again, open in Word Online. This would be in the web page. And then if we came over to open in NetDocs, it is going to bring us to that location in NetDocs where this thing is sitting. All right, share. So Teams channel, we have email link, email copy, and copy link. If we're doing any of these, and let me make sure I have Outlook open before I do it. This is just going to throw this into Outlook. Delete would delete a document if I had permission. I don't have permission to delete that document, so I don't have permission on these. Search is going to search here. We're searching pleading. So this is basically the simple search built in here. So I'm looking for everything with motion and is doing the name search here. And then over here, add, we can upload a document, or if we have something in Teams itself, okay? Like if someone added a document from Teams, we could then bop it into NetDocs. So remove documents from Teams and move them into NetDocs. So this is more of what I'm seeing is law firms are creating these Teams channels, and they might be sharing it with a client, and they might be sharing documents that way. That's what this feature add is for, is to move something from Teams into NetDocuments, something that was never in NetDocs to begin with. So, and then we have a little pop out here that pops this into the NetDocs workspace as well. So I don't know. I mean, I as someone who uses Teams all the time, and this matter is massive here, I use this all the time. The other thing that you can do is when we're just in Teams itself, when you post a document like this, there's the preview button. All right. There is the view, which will view it in a web page. And then there is the checkout, which is going to open this on your computer. And then there's the open in Word online, where you can also just open this in Word Online. Now, the other functionality, and this I think needs some work. So this is the other way of adding a document, and I don't find it works that well. All right, please review. I'm going to come over here to the plus sign, and I've added the NetDocs app here. The problem with this search query right now is that I mean, it's okay. And what I've done is actually I went in here and I've configured this to say, hey, when I'm in this matter and I'm using this, I only want you to to this actual, and you can do this here. So I could say, hey, only come over, and then I chose this massive dynamic here, full details. So then when I'm coming over here, we choose NetDocs. I'll come over here and then choose this document, and then it just gets bumped in there. It's just the problem with doing it that way is that it's here. Let's go do this again. Using this search query, the problem is it's still looking like it's searching everything in NetDocs. Now, these are my last, as me logged in as Wayne Jarvis, these are the last things that I've worked on. So what I've found is going into NetDocs view here, okay, and then grabbing the document and adding it to Teams is the most efficient way to do it, and that's how I usually do it. I will show you the other way, and you don't need Plan to do this, but what we often do as well, especially with Optiable, like people at my company, is I have this letter to Craig Bayer here, and I want someone to review it. I'm going to come over to where we have the doc ID. I'm going to hold down the control key here. And then we do this all the time. And I'm like, start new post, paste. That is the exact hyperlink to that document. So that's how I kind of go in when I have a document I want someone to send, please review. And what happens when we click on it? We go into NetDocs, and it brings us directly to that document. You could make it, let's see if this works. I just thought of something. I don't know if this will work or not. We're about to find out. Shift click here. Oh, yeah. So there's the prettier way of doing it. The letter to Craig Bayer, with the actual, you can tell that it's a Word document. Now, if you have this, there is some setup that we will do for you to get your integration with Teams to work. It's not that much. It's like 30 minutes or less to get everything integrated. And then when you go to a workspace, let's come over here to the Bluth company. All right, so I'm in the Bluth Company LLC formation. I need to come up here. You have to do this once. I'm choosing NetDocs US Vault. All right, and then this is where I have to choose cabinet. Now, again, you see here, one of the options is to add a collab space. So again, I feel like this is where if you are working with clients, then you could add a collab space just so you could chat back and forth with them. But we're going to come over here, and this is Bluth Company LLC formation. I'll hit save. And now you're seeing this is where it gets added here. So this is the Bluth Company LLC formation. Now, this would be added for everyone. So at Optiable, when we sign a new client, we have someone come in, create the new Teams channel, and then set up the integration. So then I can just go in here and use it. And then again, we're looking at it by filter, save, search, and folder, and then we're seeing it by all documents. Any questions? Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I just see all the questions here. All right, so these are coming through here. Does anyone get notified a note was added? Okay, so let me go back. Everyone come up with your Teams questions, but let me go back to the margin notes questions. So right now, and I don't know the answer. I think the answer is kind of no, but I need to find out here if there is a way. So more, all information. If there is a setting in NetDocs where I come over here and let me do this. Let's see. Yes. All right. So here's the question. I'm going to find out the answer for you. Is one, is there a, because there doesn't seem to be a way, like I can't at someone, right? That would be the one way that you would add the note there is if I could do, and this would come over here, or I mean, even that actually isn't going to me. What I'm more curious about is if we come over and hit follow and then someone adds a margin note, would we get a notification that way? Because that would be the way to do it. But as of right now, with margin notes, because we don't have the ability to at anyone, it is not letting you know. More, and then we're going to come over here to follow. Okay. And so this is, I don't even know. I doubt it's going to hit it here. So let me figure out how, and this is a great question. So I'm going to come up with like a margin notes FAQ. The first one is, how do you get notified when there's a new note there? I don't think follow would even send it to you because it's not going to be there. Okay. So there's two good questions here. And let me go this. So here's one question. Is there a benefit to using margin notes or using the common options in Word? And then the other question is, these notes don't appear when you open up the document in Word, right? So this is the whole point of margin notes is, again, and the other question is, how do I get there? More, all information. Okay. Why would we use margin notes instead of using comments in Word? This is why. No one except us NetDocs users will ever see it. If you have to produce this document to someone, it's not part of the production. No, you're producing a Word document. This is an overlay in NetDocs, okay? This is private to the firm. So if you have concerns about metadata or something like that, you don't have to worry about them because it's all in NetDocs just for us. No one else knows that they exist. Okay. So that's the reason, really, for you, I find for using margin notes that it's really, really helpful. All right. How do you get to the margin? How do you make the margin note? Oh, so that, yeah, probably didn't explain that well either. More, all information. You know what? Let's just come over here and we're going to come into like a real document. So more, all information. Document is going to open up here. And how do I make the margin note? I have to click here on margin note and then just check the box here. And that's it. You also have the color coding here. So that's in red. Again, new margin note in green. And then, maybe I'll come over with best practices on the color code as well. I know there's a reason. I'll figure out what it is. I mean, you do kind of see them there. Maybe your firm can come up with some sort of logic on how they use it. All right. Let's see what else I missed in the chat. I'm sorry about that. All right. All right. So coming over here, chat link and ND thread, kind of like the same thing. Chat link is kind of, in a sense, replacing ND thread. Although you could still use ND thread, especially if you're not using Teams. Margin notes we went over. we have not gone over tasks. Now, I do have a tasks manual that that I will send out to everyone once I finish it, but it is almost, I mean, let's see here. Let's see how bad the task man. It's only 18 pages. So that's pretty good for me, right? So it's only 18 pages, but I need to clean it up and add it. But I've been working on it for a while now. And I will have out there. And I think what's going on with my Word? It's 21 pages, but I think what I'll end up doing is probably forking this task training into its own training. Now, there's a little bit of setup with tasks, which I will help you do. Tasks, like all these other products, can be set up here in the workspace so that you see it. So we've got our collab spaces, set builder, pattern builder apps, thread, documents. Well, I've added tasks. Now we have an option here. How do you add that tasks? Let's just we'll come to, all right, drop down, and I'm going to come over to customize workspace. And if I check the box next to tasks, it will get added. That's option one. We're not using tasks on every single matter. We're only using it on certain ones. Other option is if we go, I'm not going to go over it because it'll take too long. But if we go into the workspace template, I can check a box that says turn on for every matter that's created and every existing matter so that you always see it there. Let me come back into the massive dynamic. We'll just go over to tasks here. Now, my tasks are organized by these boards. And I mean, this is, if you ever look at a Kanban board, this is exactly what it's supposed to be like. We have to-dos, and as we work on the to-dos, once we're finished with something, you can move it over here. Now, realistically, I would want to open it up and mark it complete as well by clicking on complete. Okay. And then it turns green. So client signs engagement letter. A couple of things that we can do here. You can link a task to documents in NetDocs. Okay. You can create subtasks. So for example, create engagement letter. All right. Email engagement letter. Receive signed copy of the engagement letter. All right. And then as you work on this, you can mark where you're at here. Estimation, how many hours is it going to take to do this? Created by, it shows you who created it. Assigned by, you can have multiple people assigned to it. And then we do have tags, and these tags can be created, and you can have custom tags. So maybe I will choose here engagement because it's related to engagement. Honestly, I gotta wrap my head on how we actually create tags and use them, and that really is for margin notes and for tasks. Documents, this is where I can grab documents from the NetDocs workspace that I'm in and then come over here and add them here. So this is where I'm just looking at the matter for all the filters and folders, and I can come over and add documents here. And then, when you come over and click, we'll come over and go directly to that document. Comments. So this is where I think it gets really useful if you start using this. And finally, All right. And then activity. Well, this is the NetDocs audit trail, okay, but built into tasks. So this is just, you can't really do anything here, but anytime you change something, you add something, it shows up in the activity list. So details, you get a description, you get to add subtasks, you get to add due dates, okay, you get to assign users, and you get to assign tasks. There is also, let's just see here, add to calendar. And what that will do is download, all right? And then we can hit save and close here. Client engagement letter. So I'm going to accept that. So now if we look at my calendar on June 30th, there it is. Now it's an all-day event letting you know that this is due. When you open it up, here is a link directly to that task. So that's pretty cool as well. All right, and then let's come over here again. Copy, I want to duplicate this task, archive this, and then really more importantly, checkbox. It's done, and I can drag it over here. How can I create a new task? Over here on the left-hand side, call client about discovery issue, and then I'll click on add. We've created a task or to do. We're clicking on it to open it up. We can add the description, the subtasks, the documents, the comments, and then you're going to see the activity. As we are working on this, stuff that you're working on could be in here, and then really stuff that's done should be over here. Unassigned is usually the first thing if this is traditional Kanban board. Left hasn't been assigned, middle you're working on it, done, you're done. At the very bottom here, this is where you create new tasks, okay? And then over here, you could create a new board or task list, all right? So this would be, where is that? Oh, create new task list over here. I'm gonna call this, intake, but really, this is a bad example here. I just want you to see, okay, there's a fourth board here. Now, for this matter, we're on the intake board. You could create a new board here. Let's see if we have any. So create new board. And this is really where I'd be like trial prep. And then hold on a second, because we do have templates here that we could set up as well. But I'm just going to do here. So now we have a trial prep board here in tasks. And then I can switch between those. And let's just do reserve. Let's do call about mediation. All right. So on the matter now, I have several boards. List view will show it as a list. The filter, so I can filter by who created it, status tags, all the stuff. And I can also say show archives. And then I could switch over back to my intake. All right. And now I'm in list view, and I've got that filter, show anything that was archived as well. All right. So what I've shown you so far are tasks in a matter. Okay. And so, in everything in NetDocs, we're going to do this matter centric. I'm going to come over here to my tasks. Okay. I'm logged in as Wayne Jarvis. I know I've got some questions. I'm going to try to end it in a second and then hit the questions. So any task that was assigned to me or that I created are going to show up here in my tasks. Okay. Now, notifications. So I can't answer the question in the margin notes, but in my notification settings, like all this stuff actually works. Okay. Someone creates a task and assigns it to you, you're getting an email. When you're mentioned in a comment, you can at someone, mention the description. When my task due date is added, changed, or removed, you will get an email from NetDocuments here. So let me go do one more thing, and I'm sorry, I know I didn't like when I planned this thing, I was like, we're probably not going to need an hour. And then, of course, we definitely need an hour. Let me go into the client cabinet here. Okay. And I don't usually, this is where I'm like, don't go in here because you can really mess stuff up. But I want you to see something. So over here in the client cabinet, we have a task template. Okay. I can create templates. Like I created this intake template. I get to choose the boards. I've got the actual different tasks, and then I can basically set it up. So let me come over back to the workspace template. Okay, define workspace template top left. And I can say, all right, enable tasks. Okay, so I'm turning it on for everyone. And hey, always assign the intake template. It should be listed right here. Now, I could get way better about this, okay? Add new template, okay? Litigation. Now, this is going to match a matter type called litigation. And then I could add a task board template for litigation. So then we would just be seeing the litigation. So you have the ability, besides just creating everything ad hoc, you can come up with a list of actual tasks, litigation, real estate, bankruptcy, and we could assign them to matter types. So when a real estate matter gets created in NetDocs, we see the real estate task types. All right, let's go here. Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm going to give everyone the manual. And I'm going to try to figure out, okay, here. So I'll make sure that everyone gets the manual. We'll probably have to schedule a task training because I didn't realize it would take this long. Customize workspace options. I don't see an option for tasks. What you need to do is find out if your firm has tasks. Okay. So a NetDocs admin needs to go in there and to see, do you have the plan? Okay. Figure that out first because it could be a security setting and we just got to figure out if that's the case. Is there a way to have an administrative view for tasks for a set of users? If the attorney wants to be able to see tasks assigned to everyone working for him in one place. Great question. I'm going to do a better job of answering that, but that would be in my tasks because then I could filter, created by me and then assigned to me, like, so I could come over here, created by me, and then I could also come over here and see assigned to me. So the my tasks isn't just tasks for you, but it's tasks that you've assigned. It's tasks that people have assigned to you. So you do have the ability to filter there. I'll drill when I finish the manual, like what I'm basically going to do is rip this chat out, paste it at the bottom, and answer these all in more detail. Um, yeah, and I'll cover creating task templates. Can you create general task board that are not tied to a matter for a full team? Hold that thought. You could only create templates through the admin console. That is 100% correct. I think it's got to be workspace based. So in NetDocs, we have multiple cabinets here. So I have a cabinet, like my prospects cabinet is a folder-based cabinet. I don't think I can use tasks in there. My client cabinet is a workspace base. I can use tasks in there. I see no way of using tasks. I mean, the answer to your question is just create a generic workspace, okay? And then we could have a task there. That's really the only way to do it. It has to be, yeah. I mean, can you create a workspace that's not tied to an actual matter? Yeah, you go into NetDocs, you call this client is tasks, matter is tasks, or matter is client is real estate group tasks, matter, and then that's how you would do it. But you would need to create a matter. It cannot be used in a folder base. All right, let's go to the Q&A. Do the completed tasks go away once they're completed, or they stay with the matter? They do stay with the matter, but you just have the ability, you can see them, even if you archive them to bump them out, there's an option to then show the archive. So completed tasks do stay with the matter, okay? 100%. And even if you archive a task, and that instance there is I have 800 tasks on a matter. Once it's done, I want to start archiving stuff so I don't see it. It's like a real estate issue. So they always stay with the matter, even if you archive them. My customized workspace is grayed out. Does that mean I can't access tasks? Not necessarily. What that means is that your law firm, and this is common, they set up like law firms like Craig, pick this group here. They're the only ones that can customize the workspace. So then we set it up, the security that way. So if that's the case, you're unfortunately anonymous. You're not one of the people that can actually customize the workspace. This is where you would have to go to administrator. And again, you got two options here. Check the box to turn tasks on for everything, or we could check the box to turn tasks on for like the real estate files. We can do that. Or, submit a list of files and whoever can customize the workspace can add those for you. Because when you add a task to a workspace, everyone sees it. Like when you add that board to the workspace, everyone is going to be able to see those there. All right. Let me go answer that one. I've answered that one. I think someone raised their hand. They want to raise it again. I know we're going to be out of time, but if someone raised their hand to ask me a question, I think I saw that. Do I need to speak to ND to get tasks? Yeah, I mean, realistically, if you're interested in it, talk to me and I will get someone from NetDocs to contact you. I'll find out who the sales rep is. Yeah, if you just want to send me an email, I can get to them. The thing is that and NetDocs is going to approach you when you're renewing your contract about getting on plan, stuff like this. I try to stay out of this because I'm not a NetDocs sales rep, but I think a lot of when they're renewing now, they're moving people onto these plans so that everyone has everything. And the way I'll explain it is this for some of you that are older on here like me that have been here from the beginning. ND Mail was an add-on. And at the beginning, like very few firms had ND Mail. And then it got to a point where they're like, we're just going to give ND Mail to everyone. And now everyone has ND Mail. And I feel like that's what's happening with tasks and all this stuff is that it's eventually we're just going to all have it, which is why I'm now forced to actually learn it all. Again, what I am doing with this webinar, the selfish reason for me is this was great feedback, kind of highlighted what I didn't know, what I do know. I'm going to go through frequently asked questions will be from this chat. This is what we did for Set Builder and Collab Spaces. And then I'm going to answer them all with details like, yes, here's how you do it. No, here's how you can't do it. I've also will submit a feature request for all this stuff. And then I feel like tasks is something that will spin off probably towards the end of the year in its own webinar. And again, like I do a lot of these customized training for firms as well. I apologize for running out of time again. Any question? The other thing is reach out to me and come up with use cases. I'll be completely honest. This may work for your firm or it may not work for your firm. Okay. And I try to be as blunt as possible, but I only do that on a phone call when you're like, here's my use case. I'm like, yeah, it's not there yet. So, kind of reach out and ask me about that too, so I can kind of drive the situation where it needs to go. So, um, let's see here. Q&A. So I think I've answered that. All right. I hope everyone has a great summer, and I will talk to you next week, office hours. Hopefully, I know I answered all these questions. So don't ask them again, or do ask them again. I'll be able to answer them. And you got new users and stuff like that. Get them on office hours so we can help them out. Thank you all.